In the 1950s, after racing on public roads was deemed too dangerous, a push began to create permanent closed course tracks that emulated racing on those very roads. The Watkins Glen Grand Prix course was, and remains, one of the very best of that breed. In 1961, it hosted its first Formula One race and, to many, remains the spiritual home of the U.S. Grand Prix. And in 1968, the first 6-hour race was held, and it, too, became a legendary staple on the World Championship of Make sports car racing calendar. In 2015, it received a full repaving, and the surface has since provided amazing grip. And in a field full of top-notch Spec Miata drivers, exploring the limit in a pack of cars delivers its own brand of huge thrills. Driving through multiple windshields where one mistake could be, at best, a huge cost of positions and at worst, create a huge incident. It is a study in focus and commitment. Hi folks, I'm Greg Creamer and welcome to the second half of the second season of the 2024 Full Send Sims Esports iRacing Spec Miata Championship. Joining me always is Kyle Heyer. And Kyle, I know this is your home track. There's been some developments here on this track in iRacing as of late, and you've been exploring those possibilities as well.
Born and raised an hour north in Rochester, New York. This is my home track, the first place that I discovered my love for road racing. And yes, Greg, some changes to this track for this week with the iRacing Season 3 build. And this is an exciting change. 3D curbs around this entire racetrack. What was just a flat texture now has ridges and bumps and camber. You see it there on the inside of turn number 11. So just adding another challenge, especially, Greg, in that bus stop chicane added back in 1992 to slow cars down. They're big wide curbs, though, so you can leap and jump over them, but it is a fun place to make up time.
Oh, it's an incredible track in general, and that bus stop is really, really fun. And one of the things that I think we're both delighted about is that when they did that, they didn't mess up that inner loop curbing too much so that cars can still use it. And it is exciting to watch cars through there. And you still have to thread that needle and be absolutely spot on. And now with the 3D curbs, a little bit more to it.
Absolutely, and this place is so fast, too. I call this the super speedway of road courses. It's got such a high average speed. Even in these 150 or so horsepower MX-5s, you're carrying so much speed, Greg, because of the high camber in the corners. You got lots of banking to lean on. The track's fairly wide in most places. And from turn 1 to the bus stop is about 32 seconds of on throttle all the way to a very short braking zone before you just sling it through there. So it's fast, things happen in a hurry, but you have some time to set up passes into the bus stop, into turn 1, and some of those other places where you can make up a lot of ground.
Yeah, and with a couple of exceptions, most of the turns are very long duration, so it paced those outside tires when you're going through them. Up in the right there, this is the original track. The finish line, start finish, right in downtown Watkins Glen, and you can see in the center there, that's the famous Glen. And the track wound around that, Kyle, public roads, and as we said, that got to be way too dangerous, and they created first this beauty, which was the original Grand Prix course.
Yeah, certainly 1956, this was not the original configuration. They did a couple others before they landed that one. 1971, we gained the boot. 1992, we gained the inner loop, and this is the track that we know and love today. And it all starts with a run down to turn 1, downhill into the famous 90. This used to be the last corner on the racetrack. Now it is the first. Then you head up turn 2, 110 feet to the top of turn 4, and it's flat out in these cars, Greg.
Yeah, absolutely flat chat. Then you get to that critical inner loop where you can easily make up time if you get it right. You can easily lose time if you don't. Then turn 5, one of those long corners, and then you fall away down the elevation, down into the laces of the boot. Turn 6, down into the toe. And then it's an uphill run, then a drop down into turn 8. Great viewing area there on the outside of the track. And then into one of the trickiest corners in North American motorsport, turn 9. It's got a big elevation change right at the apex, blind turn in, and a honking big wall right at the exit point if you get it wrong.
And it's a place where you'll get it wrong quite a bit. It's a tricky corner, isn't it? Turn 10 flat out in these cars, Greg, and then 11. Get back to the apex quickly, because if you don't, you're going to get yourself into the Armco, and now what is a safer barrier on the final corner. It is a challenging corner to get right, because if you get it wrong, bam, you're in that fence, and it's going to be a bad day for you. But let's head down to the racetrack and get qualifying underway. The drivers have already put down some times, but there's a new driver in this championship, Owen Watts, who got into this league just before the server opened, and he is on top of the board here early. That's a sign of things to come, perhaps.
Yeah, doing a really nice job. A 2:14.3. You can see it's Beans Forrester right behind him. Time's very compressed, even on this long track, just because it's just purely flat out racing. And Owens in one of the Barbie livery cars doing a really nice job. Clearly, lots of experience for this guy. And here's the thing, is there's some people in this championship that kind of got to get a move on. Defending champion Nicholas Rice-Puto, Josh Soto, Beans Forrester, Dean Dibdall, Olivier Piatek, Cam Evan, who said he's going to be running all season long. Those are guys that have tremendous potential, lots of speed and pace. But this is quickly turning into a mano race here. Camden Hibbett and Morgan Burkhardt, Kyle, they're only 5 points apart, but they're 28 points clear of the next closest driver in Nicholas Rice-Puto, the defending champ, right there. So somebody's got to start stemming the flow here.
Well, you said get a move on. It's about time to do so. We're in round 6. That only means we've got 4 rounds left to go. Daytona, Homestead, Road America, and Sebring. So if you don't start trending in the right direction, you're running out of races. And this is a track where I do think you need to work together with teammates just a bit. That could hurt Nicholas Rice-Puto with all the teammate action that we've seen at the front between Morgan Burkhardt and crew. But I do think that he will stand a chance to win the championship again if he can turn things the right direction starting now. I think if he doesn't have a great week this week, though, Greg, it's going to start to become a pretty insurmountable climb.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. There's no question. And as you said, difficult for him doing it pretty much on his own. And this is a track where the speeds are high enough pretty much everywhere, Kyle, where drafting is a big, big deal. And if you don't have a partner to help, it can really create some challenges for you. And a guy who's going to create interloper challenges for some of the contenders is Ethan Lampy. He has shown up to play.
He has. This is, I believe, his first round in this championship, and his current competitor and top 3 points runner in the Toyota GR Cup North America Esports League. So this is a driver that knows how to one-make race here in iRacing. He's extremely skilled, and I think he could be a dark horse in a wild card tonight, especially at a track where you're drafting so much and teamwork is kind of the name of the game. If there's someone in that mix that isn't really looking out for points and they're just in there for race wins, Greg, it could really mess up the strategies that you're trying to plan on these long straightaways.
Oh, absolutely. And of course, they try, to be mindful of who's in the championship chase. But in the end, you're coming in here, you want to have fun. You've got an iRacing rating to think about. You're going to go for it. And that's just the name of the game. So it just adds some drama to the proceedings, if you will. And we love that. We love when we have drama. It makes this all really, really exciting. And I'll tell you what, that 2:14.30 by Watts is kind of hanging strong right now, isn't it?
It is. Beans Forster's trying to get back to him. It's about a 1/10 back at a 2:14.418. And you see Beans there. It's got the both socks about the gas pedal, Greg, which is good tonight because that brake pedal isn't going to get used for very long. Most of this track you're going to be doing in 4th and 5th gear with a drop to 3rd in some of the slower corners, but no lower than that. It's so fast. 65 min corner speed there at turn 8, which is one of the slowest corners. Everywhere else, you're nearly triple digits.
Yeah, and here's that tricky turn 9. You can see how right there as you turn in, blind in, and then it flattens out. So you lose that little bit of camber you have from the incline. And if you overshoot, if you turn in early, you're heading straight to that wall. And if you turn in late, fear takes a hold and you turn in a little bit late there, trying to square it a lot, you're just going to be slow out. You've got to really nail that corner because, as you said, turn 10 is flat. Not much of a lift in 11, so you're really from the exit at 9 down to the braking zone of 1. Pretty much flat chat, aren't you?
Yeah, and watch this. So we're going to go down to turn 1. Go down 1 gear, go down another gear. That's 3rd right now. And then watch, back to the gas. And the only time he's going to lift off is when he gets into gear. Right here, he's going to get the clutch in, go up to 4th in a moment, right as he gets about 105, 110 miles an hour. But you see, he's not even shifting yet because it's a long slog up the hill in this car. And where's the shift? There it is. And foot still to the floor. We haven't lifted yet. Still to the floor. I mean, this is what Watkins Glen's all about, is carrying speed. Still to the floor. Still to the floor, and right there, finally, back to the brakes. So it is a long back straightaway and a slog uphill draft. And really, turn 1 is probably the most critical corner on this racetrack, especially on the last lap.
Yeah, I mean, one of the slower corners leading not only into a long, as you said, flat-out run, but steeply uphill. It's absolutely crucial. One thing I've been watching with Beans here is he seems to be really aggressive over all the curbs, particularly the last two in the bus stop, and seems to make it work. He's really flowing some speed through there.
Yeah, watch this. 4 tires on over the rumble strips here, and you have to be aggressive. You see the airborne car there for a moment, but it's really easy for the car to land wrong and throw you sideways. Ask me how I know that. These cars are pretty compliant, but yeah, you can get yourself in trouble if you're too aggressive, especially early in the race on cold tires. So Bean's doing a nice job there, but we will see some drivers get bitten through there. And because these drivers are so comfortable, slamming the curbs, we could see some 2 and potentially 3 wide racing into the bus stop. That math never works.
No, but it is sure fun to watch happen, isn't it? And, the one thing that Beans is doing that really anybody watching should pay attention to, if you can use more curb on that second left part of the bus stop, then you can straighten it out a little bit more over that final curb, and it won't launch the car as sideways, and you can really get the car straight, get the power down a little bit before you get into that slightly banked turn 5.
Morgan Burkhardt, 9th quick. Perhaps a bit surprising to see him this far down the order. He's up in the green right now, but I don't know that he's going to get more than just this lap to finish this attempt. Now, the other thing to consider, last time we were here at Watkins Glen, Greg, we had a big wreck on the opening lap down at turn 1. And this track is about 70 feet wide at its widest and 32 feet at its narrowest, and those parts of the track are only 2 corners from each other. So getting filtered down to single file is important early on, and last time out that didn't happen. So if you're back in the 15th through 25th, that's kind of the danger zone, and you got to be extra careful on that opening lap.
Yeah, and I mean, it really is the classic thing about you can never win the race in the first corner, but you can lose it. And it's just as you go down in here, and the exit's so wide, it's so tempting to just get up the inside and steal it away from somebody, but it can go wrong in a hurry. And we saw Morgan run wide at the bottom there. He was bailing out of that lap as qualifying was going to be done. But where he went, that would be a penalty. You were telling me if you keep any tire on the backside of that curb, you're good.
Yeah, effectively, the painted curbs here are considered racetrack, and beyond that, in most cases, that's an off-track. Now, in turn 1, they give you a little bit of grace. It's not always a slowdown if you run wide, but if you try to completely abuse it and run all the way out to the wall, then you can get yourself into trouble. Now, I know in the real world, when the SCCA Super Tourer was here a couple of weeks ago, they allowed teams to use the entire runoff area all the way to the wall. You can't do that in iRacing. It will not let you do it. So for those that were at that event, you got to, the old habits die hard. You've got to respect the track limits here. The runoffs are there for a reason, Greg, and if you go too wide, they're not going to serve their purpose when things go wrong.
Exactly. I've been an advocate of that, like at COTA for many years. People, why can't we run wide? Because they're there to give you a buffer to the barriers. And when you exceed that, you lose that. But hey, before we get going, we probably should say a big thank you to our sponsors that make this Tuesday night activity possible. First and foremost, Full Send Sims, Kurt Schmidt, extensive background in military simulation and a real-world racing driver. Put those together to create the best sims on the market, bar none. A variety of sims from every price point, and we'll do modified and absolutely custom sim work for you. He is a firm believer that practice makes podium. Also, our newest sponsor coming in is FARA. That is the Formula and Automobile Racing Association, and they provide the most accessible road racing series for spectators with no ticket cost, minor parking fee. A family of 4 can attend their events for only $5 per person. That's just extraordinary. And huge variety of cars and drivers, GT cars, prototypes, formula cars, and their new and wildly successful Pro Spec Miata series, near and dear to our hearts here, obviously, featuring some of the best racing on the planet and every one of those events is streamed. And then, of course, the sponsors that have been with us for right from the get-go: 3P Logistics, tailored trackside support, race car storage, maintenance, repair, transportation, and Final Turn Motorsports. They do dyno tuning. They're a Miata tranny builder, and they do driver development all the way from licensing right to the pro level. So good group to associate yourself with. And then Wine Country Motorsports, your one-stop shop for sim racing gear and full-send sims, turnkey and custom sims, as well as racing safety equipment. So a big thanks to all of them for making this possible. And just a quick reminder here as the field's out, we've got some great prizes this year. You know what? I'll mention those a little bit later. We got to get to this grid.
It's a big one. Let's kick things off in the first row. Owen Watts in the 114. First race and first pole for him. Beans Forster lines up alongside him in the 23. Nice effort there for Beans.
Yeah, and a welcome to Owen Watts. In third, our defending champ in the 03, Nicholas Rice-Puto, starting fourth, our current points leader by only 5, Camden Hibbett in the 132.
And starting in fifth place, it's going to be Olivier Piatek in the number 62. He's been hard at work in the official series this week because it's at Watkins Glen, so he knows his stuff here. Jean Reyes starts sixth in the number 29.
Starting in the 7th spot, Ethan Lampy, that new driver to us, but a very talented driver in the 159. Starting 8th, 3-time champ Morgan Burkhardt, buried in the pack a little bit in the number 40.
He'll have some work to do. Starting in 9th place, Rowan Gill in the 174, making his return. Giancarlo Schooler starts 10th in the 110 car.
Wow, two awfully exciting drivers back there in row 5. In the 11th spot will be the 53 of real-time racer Trace Hance. And Wan Chi Lin, who's really starting to find some form here in these cars, starts 12th in his 68.
13th place, Joshua Soto, new livery on board the car this week, starts 13th. Jim Friedhofer, 14th in the number 89.
That's the rally livery, right? Get his championship going. Starting in the 15th spot, the 99 and Dean Dibdahl, and in the 16th spot, young man Andrew Gilliland in the number 91.
17th place, Deacon Greenfield with the number 20 car. Murphy Nichols rolls off 18th in the number 55.
Starting in the 20th spot, the 19th spot, the number 80 of Andrew Wozencroft. Starting 20th is Evan Hameetman, in the 372.
21st place, Court Schmidt in the number 33. Dylan Lee starts 22nd in the 200 car.
Starting 23rd, the 042 of Seth Spolman, and Dave Brown starts 24th in the 105.
And 25th place is Jose de las Casas in the number 1. Charles Vaccaro starts 26th in the 221.
Starting 27th, the 931 of Adrian Hance, and Andrew Gaeta starts 28th in the number 61.
29th place, Sawyer Richards in the 125. Greg Ginsberg rolls off 30th in the number 7.
Starting 31st is Joshua Clatterbuck in the 901. Rich Green will start 32nd in the 22.
And Grant Jackson would have started 33rd, but he did not make the grid for this, so he will not start this race. 2 20-minute races is the distance tonight, Greg, and 3.4 miles around here. One of the fastest road courses in North America. It's time to kick things off here for round 6.
You betcha. 20 minutes. Here we go. And leading him to the line, Owen Watts in his debut race. And let's see, there's the green. Let's see what he can do with a very experienced gentleman on the outside heading down into turn 1. Watts getting a little push from Rice-Puto. Now Nicholas thinks about a move to the inside. Lets Watts go. Bean's going to try and float it around the outside. Here we go, 3, 4, 5 abreast in the background. This is where we had that huge shunt last time here. Let's hope everybody can get it sorted. Oh, 3 cars involved in the back. 2 of them now up on 2 wheels, and 1 of them hard in the barrier.
Yeah, I think one of them was Greg Ginsberg. We'll take a look at that a bit later. But out front, Watts leads the way up the hill. Forster, Rice-Puto, then out of line in the background. That is Morgan Burkhardt. He wants to go places early in this to driver's left on the back straightaway.
He's made up a spot, but he also is in a potential position to get frozen out here. Here we go. First time at speed with the pack through the chicane. And we got him a couple wide through there. Oh, and a big miss there. Safe return. Nicely done. Everybody getting through. A couple of cars in the back having their moments. But so far, everybody through there clean.
That was Court Schmidt going for a wild ride.
Yes, it was.
Inner loop. You can miss that chicane if you just go straight. It's just a slowdown penalty you have to serve. But it can hurt you sometimes more to do that versus just cut it. Now, side by side still between Lampy and Burkhardt. Actually, that is Reyes in the 29. That's the pink car.
Oh, and Lampy diving down to the inside on Burkhardt, thinking, well, he was sitting out there, he might have an opportunity. Couldn't make that work, partly because he's got Rowan Gill right on his 6 looking for opportunity. Now, Burkhardt squares up, gets to the inside, And that's one thing he does so well is he'll transition positions, and that puts him on the inside here for the heel of the boot.
Yeah, this is a great
look at Reyes.
Place to be here, but that outside, if you can hold it, it puts you on the preferred line for turn 9, which is such a flat corner. It's hard to maintain overlap there, but look at Burkhardt trying to dive back under the inside of Reyes, but didn't work.
Oh, Reyes, you can see, pushed a little bit wide there, and that cost him just a bit of momentum. And it's those little things that are going to have him lose touch with that very fast group up front. He's got a, and it's, real problem for him because he's got Morgan Burkhardt leaning on him big time. And that's never an easy task. Look at how close these guys are running right to the barriers here, the exit of turn 11.
Yeah, that rumble strip gets a little noisier when you get up against that wall. It'll make the hair stand up in the back of your neck when you get too close to it. And Watts' defense from Forster here. Hey, they're going to touch.
Ooh.
Bumper to bumper out of turn 1.
Man, that was sketchy. You do that, and that curb, when you're riding it a little bit, when you straddle it just the wrong way, it can just hook you sideways. Got to be really careful about that. And again, you can see Puto there looking to run the shorter line. And look at this battle still continuing. John Reyes doing a really, really good job. And here comes Forster now to the outside in an attempt for the lead. You think he's going to make it work here?
He's going to try. Piatek jumps to driver's left, and they're going to go side by side into the bus stop. Forster jumps the curbs. He's going to take the lead away, but Watts still has overlap, and he pulls back even again.
Yeah, gives Watts that inside line. Forster's got to be careful and drop back down like that. Now he's going to, beautiful move by Forster, just changing it up, outside in, but guess where he is now? Outside, wrong spot here. And here comes Nicholas Puto with an opportunity, and Forster realizes that, Kyle, and quickly closes that door. And just look at the way Forster's working in, working out, looking for any opportunity. And that little exchange with Puto has actually cost him a spot as Piatek's through.
This is a lot more competitive at the very pointy end than I would have thought. We saw last week how we thought the draft would be a bit reduced because of the new damage model, but it doesn't seem to be a big deal here. Huge crash in the background. Jose de las Casas is in it. We'll check in on the replay here momentarily, but the action up front's too good to pull away.
That's a big lunge. Once again, by Reyes, and he gets into just barely touches Burkhardt. Burkhardt's going to lose a little bit of space. And look at this, side by side here, up through this really tricky corner, and still Watts, but Forster doing everything he can. And right here, Kyle, he wants to stay on that outside because it would give him the run into the final turn here. And
Piatek's going to follow him through, pulls even with Watts now, and now Watts drops to third.
That was a hugely opportunistic move by Piatek, wasn't it?
Ooh, and Puto tries to cross over Watts. Watts trying to defend, but he couldn't get there in time.
Oh, he's got a little bit of overlap. He's going to try it, and decides, nope, I'd lose too much here. And Forster's still now trying to come back. He gets the door slammed on him pretty aggressively there. A lot of people using up a lot of, I think so, yeah.
And like we discussed, I think these cars are just not quite fast enough to trigger the slowdown. So they're able to run a little wider than they normally would be. But this is still some side-by-side up the hill. Burkhardt on the inside, and here comes Camden Hibbett, who didn't really get the strongest of qualifying runs. And he's got some work to do, 3 wide ahead of him. Yeah,
nor did he get a great start. He qualified 4th. He's now in 8th. Caught up in this battle with Burkhardt, Reyes, and Gill. Burkhardt has finally slashed his way up into 6th. Ooh, that's close.
Got squeezed a bit onto the grass, leaving the bus stop.
Yep. That cost him a little time, but at least he has now cleared Reyes. Reyes is just fighting today. I love to see a really late move here, again by Gill on Reyes.
Ooh, they touched.
Nice save by Reyes.
That's doing a great job here. Do we have a moment, you think, to go back and look at a couple of the early moments? It's been dramatic here. Let's go back and look at the very start. We saw some issues down at turn 1. So once we get down here, let's see what happened. I think Rich Green was the center of it. And this is just typical turn 1, lap 1 Watkins Glen chaos, isn't it?
Oh, there's a squeeze play. They got away with it. Well, it looked like it was pretty good here.
And then right here.
Right there.
They get together, and the 7 of Greg Ginsburg is the one that goes up into the air.
Oh, that was a big hit.
That was that one, and then there was this one. This was Jose de las Casas. And and the 61. They're going to tangle on exit, and into the Armco they went.
Oh, it's 2 cars badly into it. Ooh, and Hans, is that? No, that's the 930 wet. Adrian Hans got caught out in that.
Big wrecks early. We lost 3 cars. The other 29 are still rolling. Forster and Piatek, your race leaders.
Looks like they've opted to, let's work together, see what we can do here. But Watts showing what he's made of, doing an absolutely superb job. Rice-Puto in 4th, Burkhardt up into 5th.
This is the lap car. Adrian Hans leaving pit lane right ahead of the leaders. Up the hill and moves off to the right. Gentlemanly there.
Nice job. At a certain point here, everybody's got to turn in. Yeah, it looks like everybody clears him there. Now it's Burkhardt that is going to maybe lose just a little bit of time. Piatek has a run, but opts to just give him the old bump. You know, one thing I was going to ask you, oh, look at that shot. Those 2 cars side by side. We saw at the preceding round at Road Atlanta that when these cars would bump draft and it knocked the alignment out of that front opening, the radiator opening. We heard a number of the drivers say that seemed to be affecting the aero. Do you think people are going to be a little bit more circumspect with that here?
I think so. I mean, now that we know that, but I didn't notice any updates for the car either. I don't think it was addressed necessarily, but it is interesting that we haven't really seen, well, you see Piatek's nose has a bit of that damage, so I do think drivers are going to be a bit more careful about it, but at the same time, the racing here has seemed more fierce than it was all week at Road Atlanta, so I guess they've learned not to bump draft, but they're still drafting quite efficiently, I'd have to say.
Right, and I think obviously they've probably done some testing. We had a driver's school here last week, so you know, just everybody I'm sure out giving it a little test to figure out, all right, how badly is this going to be affected? And if it does have that problem for Piatek, best thing he can do is stay right behind Forster and try and null that out here. And although, as I say that, he drops back just a little bit. One thing we haven't checked into, Kyler, what are the track temps and the ambient temps here?
Yeah, so weather today pretty nice at about 75 in the air, but the track temp is up about 14 degrees from qualifying. So that's a pretty big climb, although 118 degrees Fahrenheit is still not quite as hot as this track could get with the current ambient temps, but partly cloudy skies, no chance of rain today, not yet.
See Rice-Puto pull out there, didn't get the run, then tucked in and then moved, but I think he's paying attention to that number 40 right behind him here. Oh, and Lampy, a really good run, had to almost check up not to get into the back of Burkhardt, and that has allowed Hibbett to get right even closer on the back of Lampy here as now we start this incredible climb.
And these cars will bog down a bit climbing the hill, but as soon as they come to the crest, it's still slightly uphill all the way to the bus stop, but these cars can overcome that. The energy level had died down a bit from the first 2 laps, but now with Watts out of line, here we go, 3 wide for second place, and Piatek trying to force his way into the middle.
Yes, this is going to be, it's Forster's the only guy with a clean line in, and look at that, oh, and look at Burkhardt. Absolutely sweet move, carrying momentum. He's going to maybe pick up 2 cars, both Piatek and Watts, and he did that by adjusting his entry into the bus stop. Anybody who tells me that corners on a track like this aren't interconnected are nuts. That was absolutely superb.
Oh, he get his tangle there with Watts and send him wide into the grass, and there's still 3 wide behind him, and this is getting physical here, mirror to mirror down into turn 8.
It's a squeeze play again. Watts and Piatek, they had a little nudge coming out of the laces and a little nudge going in to the toe here. Everybody's surviving. But what that's done is Forster now has about 3/4 of a second lead over Rice-Puto, who has about the same over Burkhardt.
Camden Hibbett looks up the inside. Watts falling backwards, Burkhardt going forwards. By the way, turn 8, don't worry about the track limits there. There is none. As long as you get back on course before the grass, you're in fair play, in bounds according to iRacing. Turn 1, though, got to be a little bit more respectful. A little contact there between Giancarlo Schooler and Owen Watts.
Yeah, Owen has suddenly been freight trained here big time, and he's just fighting for everything. Giancarlo wants to stay on that outside, couldn't get it done. And for Watts now, at least he gets the right angle into the turn, but Watts and Piatek have been shuffled back badly. Reyes as well back into 10th. And now it's a matter of trying to run down Forster right now.
Now, Watts has learned that the aggression level is extremely high. We saw that through the boot last time.
Yes, exactly.
No one's willing to lay over, even with 8 minutes left to go in this race. And Forster's got a half a second lead, but I'll bet you Rice Puto eats that back up by the time they get to the bus stop. And this is when it gets really fun here into that inner loop, because when you've got a bit of a gap to the car ahead, you just send it in there. You just brake even less. You just line the car up and straight line it. It's the most aggressive you're ever going to see drivers get at a North American road course, and it's through this inner loop when they've got time to gain. Watch this.
This is going to be spectacular. We'll just ride.
Every inch of the road, use it all.
You have to, don't you? And I'm gonna say this right now. I think Ethan Lampe, late in the race, if he's in a position of podium, I think he's going to try something down into turn one. He is so good in there. I've been watching him. Really closes up big time, and it's not just the accordion on the brakes. He's making up ground. So I think he's going to be somebody to watch there as we're on board with Camden Hibbett. And again, Camden is the points leader coming in, and he's got right now where he's located, and he's got Burkhardt up in front. So Camden needs to get his move on as well here.
Forster under fire. Here we go. Battle for the lead into turn 8. Rice Puto's looking off to driver's right. Burkhardt has opted for the left. This is a tricky place to make a pass because this is one of the tightest corners on the racetrack, and that curb ramps up on the inside. If you clip it, it sends you wide. And here comes Lampe trying to get to the inside of Burkhardt, and he's there.
He's there, and that was all precipitated by a great move by Rice Puto, who sensed what Burkhardt was going to try and do, tightened up his exit and parked Burkhardt just a little bit. And now Lampe, but the problem is he's not there. And in fact, he's got Hibbett now on his shoulder, and he gives Hibbett the old squeeze right there. But Hibbett comes on, has position. That was sort of like a karmic moment, wasn't it? Lampe squeezed Hibbett off track, and Hibbett said, well, I'll just roll a little more speed then.
And Owen Watts trying to tuck in line behind him. Here's Schooler popping out of line. 6 minutes to go, and roughly, I think, three laps to go this time.
Yeah, and Schooler getting a little bit of help there from Piatek for just a moment as well. And now Watts, he keeps getting frozen up on the outside and losing opportunity here up the hill. Forster, nothing. Oh, and Burkhardt getting a run on Rice Puto. Trying that outside.
Did you notice that Forster was not on apex in turn 3, the left-hander? He was protecting the right because of this. Rice Puto pulls up alongside, side by side into the bus stop.
Oh, and Rice Puto is going to grab the lead. Yo, and I don't know whether, I think maybe there's a little touch. And that got Forster crossed up, and look at Lampe working the outside.
Soto.
Oh, and a big off in the middle. Yeah, it was 99 Dibdall and Soto in the psychedelic amoeba car. Sorry, I had to get that in once.
Yeah, and that's going to create a bit of drama in the rear view for Nicholas Rice Puto. He would love to just drive away. He's almost clear of the draft, 9/10 clear. If there's any more battling for second, then they still shove each other. Smoke from all the cars here. Lampe's sideways, and it's game on. The gloves are off here.
Yeah, Lampe and Burkhardt, they've had a little shoving match for a couple corners, and Burkhardt just sort of said, all right, I can play that game too. And it cost Lampe, but he's showing really, really good pace here and aggression as well. But you know what I think makes this so much more exciting here, perhaps, than at other tracks, is the fact that there's so much grip here, Kyle, that if you get knocked sideways like Lampe does, the track will grip you right back up again. Yeah, and you can make these crazy saves.
It's one of the grippiest tracks in the country. It's where Michelin does all their tire testing because it's the hardest place on the tires that they can find because of the high speeds and high corner loads. So it is definitely grippy. That's contributed to the great action here. I also wanted to point out that DJ Alessandrini, one of our buddies from Grid Life, he not a big fan of this place because he says that, you know, your best passing opportunities at the beginning of the lap. I think that's true in some cars, but the bus stop, I think, is a really nice passing opportunity, and that's really where we've seen things go really spicy the last couple times we've been here. 0.5 of a second between Rice Puto and Forster with 2 laps to go.
Boy, it is close. This is fantastic stuff. Burkhardt sitting in third. Hibbett now up into fourth. So those are our 2-point leaders right now. And Hibbett, you know, would sure love to be able to get around on Burkhardt and pad that point lead just a little bit. And these two guys have really risen to the challenge in this second season of 2024, haven't they?
They have, and watch for the bumps here. Hibbett staying in line with Burkhardt. And they're all staying behind Forster as well. They know if they fight, it might be over, with Rice-Puto still holding a half a second advantage. They have to work together till they get to him. Rice-Puto a little bit crossed up there, leaving that final curb, but he lost some time.
He did, yeah, that was the last thing. I mean, he really attacked the entry, and it got him a little offline going through there, and that doesn't help at all. He's still in the lead, though, but now Forster, as you said, coming up less than a quarter of a second to drift. Burkhardt and Hibbett covered by the blanket right there, and Watts coming back. He's not giving up on this yet.
No, he's not. And a little wide line for Rice-Puto into turn 7. That's the toe of the boot. Forster's going to take advantage of it. And someone's going to light the fuse and toss the grenade into the room, aren't they? They're going to pull the pin on this shortly.
I think so, yeah. And this has always been a spot here. If you get a really good run through the toe, you can do a lunge down into 8. But you got to get it done so early. And the problem with, and I understand what DJ's saying, because even these corners that are kind of tight, in terms of angle, ultimately are fairly open. Like 8 folds back on itself a little bit, but it takes forever to drive the corner. Forster almost running into the grass over there, and you get sideways there, it costs you time. Doesn't look like it hurt him too much.
No, it's still nose to tail, though, coming back to the white flag this time. And Rice-Puto a bit offline there into the final corner for the penultimate time. Right out to the blue bushes there, and the white flag will be waving here, Greg.
I wonder if some of those, and here we go, Forster, this is it, down to the inside. He's got position, and who's going to go with him, if anybody? Nobody. Boy, that was a gift for Rice-Puto, I thought. Somebody else would have gone. And now, this is what Burkhardt's done before. Tries this outside run up into the S's and see if there goes Hibbett trying to go with Burkhardt, and now Watts coming up and going to go with Rice-Puto, and everybody tracking Forster here. Now, are they going to split him? I thought for a minute we'd see the split.
Here we go.
No.
Big push.
Down to the inside. Rice-Puto, though, has that inside position. Oh, Kyle, this is fascinating stuff.
Into the bus stop for the final time. Who gets in there first? Who comes out first? Forster comes through, and he leads the way. Watts is out wide. It's Forster, Rice-Puto, Burkhardt, and Rowan Gill in the middle of a Piatek and Watts sandwich.
Man, and with Lampe right behind. 3 wide through turn 5. And look at this. Rice-Puto hunting. Forster protecting. 3 wide into the laces again.
That's going to be tough math, but Piatek comes out the other side of it, and the front 4 broken away, and Rice-Puto is running out of opportunity to take this lead back. Here comes Burkhardt on the outside.
Burkhardt, if he can just ramp the outside, and he got a little wide there, and that's going to let Hibbett through potentially. Boy, this is getting awfully tasty here. Hibbett opting to go with Rice-Puto, trying to push them along to freeze Burkhardt. Here we go, Kyle, down into turn 8.
Whoa, big lunge from Rice-Puto, but nowhere to go with it. Hibbett and Burkhardt, the teammates battling behind. Burkhardt's all the way out to the grass, and there's only 3 corners left. Forster's got the advantage.
He does, and we'll see if anybody, it's really tough from here. Forster, though, a little bit wider line. Looks like it worked behind him. I think we're going to have chaos in the back. Lampe got to dive to the inside of Piatek, but for the podium, it's their 3 guys. Oh, and for a second there, Rice-Puto showed the nose, but Forster onto the front straight. Is it going to hold? He moves way over, trying to get out of the draft. It's a drag race to the line, incredibly close.
Wow.
Waiting for it all to cycle. Forster by 18 100ths. Hibbett, oh my goodness, what a finish.
Not me.
With Burkhardt. With Burkhardt in the 4th spot. Piatek survived into 5th. Wow.
What a drive for Beans Forster. That was phenomenal. See the deep breath there.
He needed that too.
He did. It all came down, I think, to the run into the bus stop and where he was able to hold everybody off. Watch this again.
Yep. Ooh, a little touch there. Rice-Puto and Burkhardt, just a little touch, nothing much.
And he just maintains this outside and turns in, trusts that the car is going to land just right. And once you're through in the lead in this portion of the racetrack, you haven't won yet, but you put yourself in a really good spot.
Yeah, and the other trust part there was trusting Rice Puto wasn't going to hit him.
Absolutely. Oh, gosh, that's so close, isn't it?
Extremely close.
This will actually give us a great perspective from high above here. Doesn't have the spotter telling him that he's got a car inside until the very last minute. There was a bit of overlap, but just not enough.
Yep. Oh, did you see Watts took a big run and then just nicked the back of Burkhardt, and that killed his momentum. Watch right there.
Yep. And he ends up 10th.
And it just parked him. Yep.
And this
just lost everything.
Interesting.
Ooh.
There. Lampy and Rowan Gill coming together, and this was very physical.
And 3 abreast, darn near 4 abreast wide, just not necessarily side by each here. Yeah, that's crazy. Look at this.
Watts in the grass trying to find room to race. And he just got kind of frozen out. I mean, for a first run in this series, job well done by Owen Watts, but he learned that the elbows get out on lap 1 and lap 9.
Yep. He showed his speed. Now he's got to show that racecraft and that toughness, like you said, with those elbows out. And a nice job, too, by Ethan Lampy in his debut. So, well done.
Here's a look at your top 10. And I think, this right? This is still right, for a moment. Watts was promoted to 9th. Did someone get DQ'd there at the end, I wonder?
Well, Morgan Burkhardt was farther up. I think there's a little issue there.
Yeah, and that could have been.
He was 4th, I think, wasn't he?
Could have been, yeah. And I think if he got pushed down the list, it could have been because of a cut course penalty.
Well, that's true, too.
Which you could very easily get on the final lap. But wow, race 1 is complete, Greg. That was entertaining, and we have a whole other one left to go.
Oh, my goodness. Absolutely incredible, and you got to love it. What we were seeing here. Something else that you have to love is, Full Send Sims. We talked about Kurt Schmidt, the builder, the creator of the Sims in the series, got all of his sim training with military work and building and operating Sims in the military. And that has kept him very, very connected to all things veteran. And there's a thing called the Veterans Trust Race Experience. And we got a little video because we had an off week. First time we've ever had an off week during a series, but for an incredibly good cause. Let's take a look at that video, and then we'll talk a little bit about it. It was special.
As you take around that circle around Hendrick Stadium, remain humble and remember who we are and whose we are every day. All right, don't forget who we serve. All right, don't forget those that didn't come back and pave the way for us to be here. Truly an honor to be with you. Enjoy the week, have fun. May the best battalion win. Go out there and whoop ass.
And in the 82nd Airborne Division, when you're not at war, you prepare for war. And we should never miss an opportunity to get ready for combat and have some fun at the same time. Let's not forget there's a couple thousand of us who are forward already, ready to do the nation's deadly work when necessary. I'm immensely proud to serve you and serve with you. Will you join me for a run?
These guys are so motivated out here with these drift cars, these supercars, these NASCARs.
Can't get no better than this.
This event is amazing. I've never seen anything like it. Gotta keep doing it every year. It's awesome.
What a great event, and that video capturing the sights and sounds of it all very, very well, Greg. And man, it looks like a lot of fun, and it looks like the guys from Full Send Sims also had quite a bit of fun this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. And you could see the massive turnout that was there. But what they did was Full Send Sims brought a variety of different, they had a team of 8 and 7 simulators, including the Full Send Sims Mobile Sim Unit, the Thriller Griller, to support the Veterans Trust. And, that trust curates motorsports experiences for service members, their families, and during their next event, which was the Veterans Trust deal, it honors the men, women, and families of the 82nd Airborne, which you heard. There were 5 different motorsports disciplines at the event. Supercars and exotics, you saw that flying V with the aerial footage. Drift cars, cup cars, that's NASCAR cup cars, all those simulators, and drift carts. You saw those little drift carts as well. Absolutely incredible what they did. The Army was also actively participating with Apache helicopters. You saw them flying above. Military ground aviation assets were on full display at all the locations. Everybody involved had full military police escort throughout the base. And just look at the smiles. That just says everything about what this event was all about. Look at, here's Court and his dad sitting there in one of the Apaches having a great time. Everybody getting ready to go after it. And if you would like, just to give you an idea, donate, just go to the veteranstrust.org/support. or theveterantrust.org/volunteer if you want to be part of that event next year on a volunteer level. But as you can see, an awful lot of smiles from the Full Send Sims folks. There's one of those great custom Sims built into one of those cars, and that was all on display at the Veteran Trust for this year. It was absolutely remarkable. The race experience made even more special by our Full Send Sims team. So big congratulations to all of them, Court and his group, for getting out there and doing that, Kyle. Pretty special stuff.
Yeah, it looked like a lot of fun as well. So helping out and having fun all at the same time. So big thanks to them for sharing that experience with us as well, so we can share it with you. And another thing we're going to share with you is the beginning of race number 2 here for the Full Send Sim Spec Miata series. And cars are rolling off here, Greg, and the weather has changed a bit. It's a bit cloudier than it was. The track temp has fallen about 10 degrees, 110 degrees Fahrenheit. Now you can see the track, especially the boot area, covered in shade. So maybe that'll grip up the track a bit for the second race.
Yeah, it looks like the track temp's down, 8 degrees?
Yep. Just about.
Already. So, yeah. Hey, one of the things I'm noticing here that Morgan Burkhardt is starting 19th. So there must have been some sort of a penalty for him. That's huge in terms of this points championship, with Camden Ibbott finishing 3rd. And we're going to be talking more about points now as we're starting the second half of the season. But for Beans Forrester, came in here 5th in the points, only 5 behind Josh Soto. He finished well in front of Soto. And Piatek comes in 7th in the points. He made up some ground as well. So opportunities here. And for Nicholas Rice-Puto, maybe one of the big gainers here as well with that second place finish. But now you got to back it up in race 2, don't you?
You certainly do, and I think that penalty for Burkhardt must have been a cut course penalty that he wasn't able to serve before the checkers, because that would translate to an end of the lead lap, effectively time penalty, which would put him down where he is. So, that's frustrating when you get in the last couple corners of the lap and you don't have time to serve it, but that's how iRacing keeps all the track limits in check. Now, that could have come from running wide at 1 or somewhere else, or it could have, most likely at turn 10, running wide is where that would happen, that late in the lap where you wouldn't have time to serve it. But he's got a lot of work to do. He did start pretty deep, tail half of the top 10 in race 1, and he was able to work his way into the top 5. So he will be a fun one to watch climb through this order.
Oh boy, won't he? And we've seen him do it before, where he's just come through the field after having a problem. But there's an awful lot of very talented drivers up on the sharp end of things here. And it's going to be interesting to see. Now, Owen Watts, now he's got a race under his belt. Ethan Lampy, starting 5th, has a race under his belt. There's a good look at Andrew Gilliland, who just continues to show some really, really good form. But those two newbies who showed some real speed, now they've kind of got a handle on what's going on here. This could be fun to see what they make of it.
Yeah, they've learned the aggression level, and it is high, is what they learned last time. And their pace wasn't a problem. They were fast enough to be up in the mix, but they got shuffled out in moments when the racecraft started to get creative up at the front and teammates started to fall in line and that sort of thing. So I'll bet you that Ethan Lampe will be aggressive. Owen Watts was probably good enough to win this race, but he's going to have to earn it the old-fashioned way by making passes starting in 9th, which I believe is where Burkhardt started in race 1. But doubled up behind the safety car, and 20 minutes go up on the board again, the fastest road course in North America. And, well, here we go. This is going to be fun. Everyone, got to get through turn 1, though, Greg, and a couple cars didn't do that last time.
Right. We'll see how that goes. And don't count out Rowan Gill, Giancarlo Schooler, Trace Hance, all starting in the top 10 this time. And they are all very quick as well. This is going to be epic, folks. Here we go. Pace car is in. Wait for the flag. 20 minutes.
Behind him.
Contact before we even got the green. 2 or 3 cars bottled up back there. At least 3 look like they're done. Meanwhile, even earlier, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 abreast, heading down into turn 1. Rice Puto on the outside. And look at that move. Camden Hibbett way down to the inside. Piatek in the green car right in the middle. It is on, Kyle.
3 by 3 up the hill. This is wild. Banging fenders there. Piatek in the middle. Forster leads them all up the hill.
That was an Indianapolis 500. 3 rows of 3 start. Still doing it. Wow, Forster into the lead, but look at Camden. Look at this. It's just unbelievable. I've never seen this, Kyle.
There's no way they make it to the bus stop like this, though. Someone's going to have to give it. It might be more than one. Into the bus stop, 3 by 3. There it
is. And there goes Hibbett. Oh, man. That is your points leader, having it all go wrong. All right, he didn't get serious damage, but he is way in the back. Or did he get damage? Yeah, he's slow.
Yeah, he's got some right side damage, but
yep.
After all that, they filtered out, and I cannot believe we didn't send more than just 1 car into the wall there. That was unbelievable.
Yeah, that was unbelievable, and you got to say it. Really a little bit unnecessary, 3 abreast into the bus stop on the first lap. Come on, guys.
The 3 by 3, they were 5 rows deep, 3 by 3.
I know. Like I said, it looked like the start at the Indy 500.
If you didn't have the bus stop there, that would have been even uglier than that. Here comes Rice Puto now up alongside Forster, and then Piatek watching from behind.
All right, does Forster give? Or does Rice Puto? I think he wants to lead. Was that a little touch?
Yeah, they did. They had a little contact. That's going to allow Piatek to pull up alongside. At least Rice Puto, and then Rowan Gill.
And you can see what happened right there. You can see Rice Puto had to pinch his exit and just lost that little bit of momentum. And now Gill going to come up on the outside. And if Gill can stay here, he's going to have good position in. And it looks to me like Rice Puto has made a decision here. If I can lead, I'm going for it. And I think it's because he is recognizing everybody is driving insane right now. And he just wants to be in front of it all.
Trace Hance, Ethan Lampe side by side for 5th. How about Trace? Started 8th up to 5th. He might lose a spot here, but it's been a strong start for the orange and blue 53.
Yeah, really, really savvy what he was doing here. And he's got, airborne over that curb.
That's a long way wide, and he'll come back on track and likely have to serve a bit of a slowdown. But like we said earlier, these cars don't have enough horsepower to accelerate climbing the hill.
And look who's right behind him.
Oh, hello.
Morgan Burkhardt is up to 7th from 19th, folks.
It's a heck of a climb.
Oh, my God, the guy. It's just something. He really is. There's no question about it.
We got a car in the wall in the S's.
2 of them.
Andrew Guada, I think, is one of them. We've got the side-by-side battle for the lead, though, so he won't pull you away from it. Gosh, Trace Hance
got flushed way out wide. Here comes Ethan Lampe now. Got a really nice run through the bus stop, and as Piatek got bounced a little wide, Lampe looks to be in a good position here. Piatek has position, though, into the laces. And Lampe's just going to try and has to ride it out. Ooh, little nudge there, baby.
Gosh, it has been a physical day out there.
Man, it's been unbelievable. And maybe no place more so than at the exit of the laces.
Yeah, that's kind of been the push and shove spot. You're carrying a lot of momentum down the hill there. And these cars are momentum cars, so you're just trying not to bleed off a lot of speed. So if you can use, the old adage is 8 tires are better than 4, right? So if you can use a little more grip,
exactly,
you can nestle up against the bodywork next to you. Joshua Soto's getting put in a bad spot right now. He's got Dylan Lee behind him. And on the outside, that's Andrew Gillen.
Now here's the question for you. Hibbett right now, 22nd. Burkhardt is 7th. How many risks does he take going for the win? I mean, if he can go, I would expect he'll fight for the podium. But if it looks crazy to go for the win, you think Burkhardt will say, nope, I'm going to make up a lot of points on this one?
That's tough. I don't know that I've ever really seen Burkhardt, be overly cautious like that. He tends to lean on the side of aggression, so he'll get what he can get, even though the Hibbett car got taken out a bit early. Let's go back and have a look at what pushed Hibbett off here, and it comes down to this 3 wide in the bus stop. It just gets tagged there by Rowan Gill, and actually, the damage that he had was from the contact, not from the wall. I thought he had gotten to the fence.
I did too, yeah.
But he didn't. He did a nice job leaving space here, but there's just not enough. Gill washes wide a bit there, and around he went.
Yeah.
That's what the runoff's for.
There it is, and it did its job. Now he's got the march. And, as I think about it, I think my comment, my query was kind of stupid because, Burkhardt ended up 19th in that first race. And he needs as many points as he can get as well. So, yeah, he'll be on full charge.
Might just come out here a wash at the end of the day, right? If Camden has a bad race and so does Burkhardt, a little shift and shuffle there. Burkhardt's still on a mission, though, or on the outside of Giancarlo Schooler.
Yeah, this is just absolute. And, that, again, Ethan Lampe finding himself in a little bit of a wiggle. And, hey, this is going to be interesting because Burkhardt and Lampe, they got into each other a couple of times in that previous race. And I get the feeling that neither of them, there's a lot of love lost at this point. And Schooler took a big look there, but Morgan covered it out of the toe.
Especially since Burkhardt knows Lampe isn't running for the championship. And Lampe knows that he doesn't care.
Exactly.
And two different agendas running next to each other on the racetrack, that rarely ends well.
And one of the most aggressive guys in these cars, Rowan Gill, in front of both of them.
Yeah, and Gill's actually having a really nice day. He's had a lot of bad luck and had some engines let go at the wrong time. And this is a track where the braking zones, are not incredibly heavy. You're not really slowing down all that much, so you're not downshifting, using all the engine braking like you would at some of the more stop-start tracks. So that could be a benefit. Don't put yourself at risk of letting the motor get around you here.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, less downshifts, less opportunity for a mistake there. And if you're curious, I don't know why you would be, but those grandstands on the left of the front straight, they used to be the main grandstands at Nazareth Speedway.
Yes.
And when it went defunct, Glen bought it and brought them over and installed them. So, but look at this up front, 4 cars, and now a little gap back to Lampe, just over half a second as they climb the hill. Soto and Trace Hands trying to make their way up through the field.
Oh,
Trace,
boy.
After a great start, drop back. Here we go again.
You can't pull your eyes off the leaders for a second.
You can't.
Because as soon as, big slide for Rice Puto on the back straightaway. Too big of a bump draft. He almost lost that car.
Yeah, that was Gill that just gave him that little rough ride.
Oh, this big run through the bus stop. Big wiggle for Beans Forster. How did he hang on to that?
Well, and then he got tapped right at the end of it by Rice Puto, who got sideways through the bus stop and just tapped him as well. Oh, Burkhardt way wide.
Oh, and
this
Watts
is craziness.
Got linked up with, I think it was Giancarlo Schooler, and they were just leaning on each other all the way through 6, or 5 rather. And he's still trying to charge his way forward. He had a big head of steam and didn't want to give up any of it.
Yeah, he's down to the inside of Burkhardt now.
Oh,
one gets into Rice Puto, knocks Rice Puto wide. I just don't think Rice Puto saw him coming.
No, and then Burkhardt took advantage of that, gets shuffled through, and Schooler's now alongside him. I've never seen the elbows out as sharp as they have been today.
No, not at all. And Lampe right now up into 3rd.
Oh! More pushing and shoving. Soto and Watts came together, and Again, I think
Look
the track
at this
grip,
train.
the track grip that you talked about is really paying dividends, because if this was a slicker racetrack, I think half these would have been wrecks.
Oh, I think without doubt it would have been. And I think all the shoving at the front, look at this, what is that? It's about 13 cars that are part of this battle for the lead right now. Look at this train.
Yeah, it's all the way back to, 15.
Yeah.
Deacon Greenfield is at the tail of this.
This is just insane. All right, Rowan Gill down to the inside of Beans here, going for the lead. Lampy going with, well, who's he going to go with here?
Well, I think he's going to wait to the exit to make that determination. Forster gets pushed wide. And now it's a run up towards turn 2. And again, Burkhardt trying this outside run, and they're door to door for the lead.
Yeah, the little tap, and Beans just kept his foot in it. And
whoa, look out.
Another bump.
Armco for Rowan Gill. We're 3 wide.
3 wide behind them. Burkhardt now trying to get some help from Giancarlo Schooler. Look at this. This is another impossible insanity moment.
Hey, we get them all in one shot.
The
They're
lap
covering
car,
the track.
just look at that. Lap car. Wow!
And Schooler goes for a ride.
And somebody else did too. Piatek, but to the right of them, there's another car, I thought. Well, maybe he snuck through. Wow.
Big hits there for a couple of cars, and that there was just so much distribution across the racetrack there that there was no way. Look at Lampy to the inside, Forster not leaving a lot of space there, and then Forster gets pinched and into Schooler.
Yes, Beans was the guy that right there that got into Schooler, and there was nowhere for Beans. I mean, he was squeezed huge here, right here.
Oh, man.
Yeah, there was nothing Beans could do.
And then across the racetrack, and he's very lucky that he didn't finish going across it. And then there's Piatek rear-ending him. That's going to be big damage. Piatek is out. Schooler is out. I think everyone else made it through. But big mess in the bus stop.
Wow.
And look who's leading after all that.
Yep. And Lampy and Gill. Reyes, remember his first race where he fought so hard? Well, he's up in 4th. Doing another great job in front of Soto, Watts, and a recovering Rice Pudo, Hans, and young Andrew Gilliland right there in that 9th spot. Now Forster knocked back to 10th. Man, that's tough medicine.
8
and
minutes.
There was nowhere he could go.
No, it just, I mean, bus stop is not built to be a 3 wide scenario.
No.
Especially when 2 of them, I don't think, knew that they were going to be 3 wide.
Well, exactly. As we're watching Andrew here, yeah, I mean, Burkhardt was clear, knifed across, and I wonder at that point if, for some reason, that's Reyes.
Soto's going to go around.
Oh, and Soto, whoa. Wow. Even the runoff here is grip. Lots of grip.
Yeah, they were coming down the straightaway here. I think they're just going to tangle. Watch right here in the braking zone. Right here.
Yeah. Soto came across. You saw the nosedive, and I think it surprised Reyes.
Nice save, but he'll knock him down to 11th spot now as he's now 3 wide with Deacon Greenfield on the outside, who's making a nice climb forward. Greenfield started this race in 10th, and he'll pick up a spot into 9th.
Yeah, but he was back in 16th, so he has found 7 positions since then. Whoa! And Wan Chi Lin just couldn't quite make that save.
Get back rolling, has to spin the other way to stay out of traffic. And here's Forster trying to get back around Andrew Gilliland. That's for 7th place. All the while, Burkhardt leads by a full second. He's almost clear of the draft. Oh, Soto hard in the wall at the exit of turn 6.
Oh, man.
And Reyes is collected as well.
Well, those were the 2 that had their moment down in 1.
Just finished each other off here, huh?
Yep. Wow. And I think Reyes thought that Soto was going to save it and stay out, so he went to the other side, probably hoping to avoid contact, and Soto just ended up going that way.
So now,
but they also were having a bit argy-bargy earlier, so you always wonder.
Yeah. 1.3 second advantage for Burkhardt, and he might be able to eke away from Lampy and Gill. They have not been able to eat into this advantage so far. And Burkhardt with clear racetrack, he's just going to run qualifying laps now for the next 3 times around Watkins Glen.
You bet. And for Lampy, Rowan Gill has a lot of speed, but he's also super aggressive. And every once in a while, he'll just decide, nope, enough of this. And Rowan needs to be really patient right now and help these two get back up to Burkhardt.
Yeah, last time by a 2:16.5 for Burkhardt, 2:16.8 for second and third. Owen Watts was way off track in the background.
Yeah, and he's got Rice-Puto on his 6, and then a little gap back to Forster, who's got some ground to make up. There you see Forster in front of a pack. Hans Gilliland there as well.
Yeah.
Greenfield in that mix too.
So a bit of distance that second and third car have made up. See the damage on the nose of Lampy's car. It's going to make this a little harder. But that was about a half a second gain to the bus stop. Now, can they continue to do this in the second half of the lap?
Well, that's a good point. And at least Lampy's damage is just a wrinkle. Look at the nose of Watt's car. That looks like he's been in the ring with, and you get a head-on shot. He's been in the ring with a UFC fighter.
Yeah.
That thing is just beat up. Yeah, exactly. And worse for him is he's got Rice-Puto on the back. And this has got to be really frustrating for Nicholas, because I think he had the speed to lead this, and I think that's what he wanted to do. And but that's not always how this works in this game. And how about Lampy and Gill? They've taken about 3/10 back off Burkhardt here, even 4/10 now.
Yeah, they did make up most of this ground in the first half of the lap. I think they're going to lose some of it in the tail end here, where Burkhardt seems to be really good. But I still think there's opportunity for these front 5 cars to sort of accordion back together if they can continue to make up ground the next time around. And car is slow at 8. That's Gilliland, and I heard a boom.
Oh, no.
And this one might have been a motor. There it goes.
And that's just a gut-wrench feeling, isn't it? It's like a gut punch, especially you're up in the top 10 having a great race.
Sometimes you know it too.
To the best.
You hear the revs climb just a bit too high, and you're just hoping. I mean, once you make that shift and you let the clutch out, you've already committed. So
yeah, exactly.
You're just hoping the valve train stays in one piece. 2 laps to go, and a slight gain for the trailing cars that time, about a 1/10.5 on Burkhardt. Lampy's way out wide, and that will likely be a slowdown. But again, these cars are slow enough that it might serve itself by the time they get to the bus stop.
That's so funny.
By the way, I've never experienced that in any other car in iRacing, just this one.
Yeah.
It's a big slowdown. If you run wide in a GT3 car or something, it'll cost you 2 or 3 seconds. But they've gained time now, 6/10 of a second. So, they have to make a lot of time up in the bus stop here, because they can't use next lap to eat up Burkhardt's lead. They have to be there next lap.
You see how aggressive Lampy's turn-in is to the bus stop? He is trying to throw everything at this, and that turn-in was really angular. He just was, really turned in abruptly here.
Craft gets stronger the closer you get. They're 6/10 back.
Yeah.
You might need another lap or two that they're not going to have, though. I mean, if they're only gaining 2 or 3/10 a lap, and all of it's on the back straightaway for the most part, so we'll see. Not over till it's over.
No, it's not. And, Watts and Rice-Puto are coming as well here. Well, and now they may have just decided, unless Watts lets him go clean here.
Yeah, a little early on the brakes.
Choice.
Yeah.
May not have a choice. Yep, gave it up.
Burkhardt's got a 7/10 of a second advantage. It's possible, I think, if Lampy gets a really nice last few corners here, that they could be within 3/10 of a second in the bus stop, but they're not going to be close enough for an overtake. So it's going to come down to this, really the boot section, where Burkhardt has been better. So I think this is still a long shot, but they're doing everything they can. Burkhardt is just taking this opportunity.
And the one thing I notice about Morgan here is, like in turn 9, nobody is consistently, as the white flag comes out, he uses the curb in 9, the inside, to absolute perfection, but he does it every lap. It's not like he lucks into it every once in a while. He's just that precise, and that's his strength. Now let's see that margin down to just 0.6, but
decent run there for Lampy and Gill.
Yeah.
Again, I think it could be down to 2 or 3 tenths by the time they get to the bus stop, but it's not going to be close enough for overlap. Watch this, the gap on the left-hand side of the screen close, and I'll bet you Lampy does the most aggressive bus stop that you could possibly imagine here.
oh yeah, it's his only shot. We're down to 0.5 second only. That's as close as they've been.
Oh, he hit the wall. He hit the wall at the apex there, and it's going to go straight. He's damaged his car, and it's over.
Oh, he's done. Oh man, what a fight! What a fight! Well, you said it. He was going to be a very aggressive turn-in.
Yeah, just clip that wall just a touch, and you know you could get all 4 tires on that curbing there, but if you get too aggressive, you clip that wall, I mean, it'll just snap the suspension like a twig, and I mean, you're going 120 miles an hour.
Oh yeah.
So, and it leaves Gill with an opportunity to pick up some decent points here, P2.
Yeah, it sure does. It sure does. He's not running the full season, but you know, always good to have it. And for Rice Puto, if he can hang on and get that podium, that will be big. You know, with both Burkhardt and Hibbett having a bad race, and Rice Puto has been, I think, top 5 in each.
And that'll be a great
go.
pickup for him as we get down to the final 4 corners here at Watkins Glen. Both these races started. Go ahead, Greg.
I was going to say, watch Morgan here on this curb up at 9. Look at that. He's there at that same spot every lap, Kyle. And just precision.
It's paid off for him once he got this lead. He didn't relinquish it. These races were extremely physical, elbows out, hands on. We saw 3 wide into the bus stop, Greg, but Morgan Burkhardt got to the lead through the chaos, and he's going to take advantage of it like the pro that he is.
From 19th to the win, and just giving the wall a kiss just for an effect here, it almost looked like. Morgan Burkhardt, what a comeback drive by Morgan. Gill in second, Rice Puto hangs on for the podium, and those points in third. Watts, after a pole and then a problem in the first race, dropping back a little bit, gets 4th. Beans Forrester, after winning the first race, gets 5th. Deacon Greenfield went by Hans Dibdahl as well to end up in 6th. Hans 7th. And I'll tell you what, Camden doing a brilliant job coming from 22nd back to 8th.
This was the battle for 11th to the stripe. Schmidt over Vaccaro by 11 thousandths of a second, and here is the margin right about
Look at
there.
That. Holy cow. What a run by Cord Schmidt.
But Morgan Burkhardt recovers after a 19th in race 1. He'll pick up a victory here, and it just came down to surviving the mayhem that happened, you know, in the first couple laps of this race. But and this was a very different race than I was anticipating seeing tonight. So much aggression and drivers, you know, jabbing their elbows, getting into each other's rib cages. You can do a burnout over there.
Yeah, in front of that big crowd here. Well done, Morgan. That was, I don't blame him one bit for celebrating here. That was pretty special.
I have a good camera angle of it because it's over on the short course. But
well, the smoke tells the story,
it
doesn't it?
sure does, yeah. There you go. Look at that. All right, let's have a look at the race results here, and we'll get into post-race. Morgan Burkhardt over Rowan Gill and Rice Puto. Owen Watts, a great debut, 2 top 10s for him. And he learned a lot, I think, in that second race.
I think so too. Yeah, absolutely. You can see he came out swinging a little bit differently that time. Beans, that comeback after getting squeezed and knocked out of it. Deacon Greenfield, that super drive for Deacon, clean as could be, up into 6th. Trace Hans fighting through the pack. Hibbett back from 22nd to 8th. Dean Dibdahl, a nice drive. Dylan Lee, one of his best finishes, up into 10th.
Yeah, great job there for Dylan Lee. And then looking down 11 through 20th, Cord Schmidt edging out Vaccaro by 11 thousandths of a second. Good run there for Cord after getting shoved off in the early moments of that race. Rebounded nicely. Greg Ginsburg, 17th after having a collision in the beginning of race 1. Seth Spolman, Ethan Lampy, 19th. He was going for it, just went a little bit too hard there, Greg, and caught the fence.
Yeah, boy, did he show he was, he's a player. We hope we see him again. Really, really quick and willing to fight for it. That was great stuff. Josh Soto and Jean Reyes having their issues. Schooler and Piatek as well. So a lot of people, caught out in incidents in this second race.
Yeah, I'd say. And Olivia Piatek, one of those as well, 27th in race 2. Giancarlo Schooler also caught up, not the way that they were hoping to end these things. Jose de las Casas, night to forget for him in the number 1. And Evan Hamitman, I don't think made it past the opening lap in the second race of the night. So pretty exciting race here at Watkins Glen. That's why I love this place. But let's talk with Beans Forster, who came home in where'd you land here, Beans, in race number 2? P5. But race 1, you managed to steal a victory. That was exciting to watch. Take us through your evening and picking up a win in race 1 here at Watkins Glen.
It was funny because I was telling Morgan and Camden and everything that win in that first race felt like a win that I truly earned from qualifying and from playing defense throughout the race. And there wasn't really much luck that kind of came into play in terms of some of the other wins I've had in the series. So I'm super proud of my performance from that. I'm almost speechless from it just because I kind of surprised myself in what I did.
Well, it was brilliant. We had a shot of you right when the checker came out and you came across, you let out this big kind of breath here. You did earn that one, but you're right. It wasn't like, you got lucky, somebody had a problem somewhere. Your defense was superb. Your speed was right where you needed it, when you needed it. It was just a great drive, Beans.
Yeah, it was awesome. Unfortunately, I still haven't really looked at the incident that happened in race 2. But making a comeback, I think I was around like 12th or something, coming out of the bus stop, serving that slowdown. But the car could have been so much worse. And I like to think that I kind of kept my head down, kept my cool, and just focused on trying to gain as many spots as I can.
Well, and you did, and I can tell you right now, that incident there, you were just squeezed. There was nowhere for you to go. So yeah, it was a tough one for you.
Yeah. I'll have to take a look at it a little bit later. So, but other than that, the racing was phenomenal tonight. I mean, Watkins Glen, big draft track. There's so many spots where you're able to go too wide, but it's super high speed and it's super on edge. But again, it's one of my favorite tracks. I love this place. We ran the school here last week, and I remember Camden jumped into the school. I forgot what time I did, but I ran a pretty good solo time, and he was a little bit impressed. So that made me feel a little good.
Well, and you backed it up when you got here for the race. Fabulous win in the first one, man. Congratulations, bud.
It's the 2 socks. That's what it is.
There it is. Both of them saying gas, baby.
I got 2 right feet, I guess.
Well, you know what they say. The brakes just slow you down, man. Well done.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Beans. All right, let's chat with Nicholas Rice-Budo, who finished this race in 3rd place. It was a 2nd place in race 1. Nicholas, tonight, it was physical out there. Lots of leaning on each other, but it was exciting. 2 and 3 wide for the most of the opening laps of these races. But 2 podiums and a great points night for you, especially with Camden and Morgan having issues in race 1 and race 2, respectively.
Yeah, I'm really happy with that. It was race 2. The start of race 2 was one of the wildest thing I've ever done, like sim racing. I mean, that was crazy. 3 wide up the S's.
Well, it looked like, I was joking, we had like 5 rows of 3 of you. It looked like the start of the Indy 500,
Yeah.
It was just crazy.
It was awesome. I'm really happy with how tonight turned out. I didn't get the win, but I definitely drove how I should have been driving all season, so.
Well, and I wanted to ask you, because as we're watching a replay of this 3 wide by 3 by 3 by 3 stuff. It was just nuts. But I wanted to ask you, in race 2, I kind of had the sense that 1, you had the speed to lead, and 2, you wanted to lead and get in front of this chaos.
Yeah, if you're leading, you're less likely to, get, the cars behind trying to pass you. Like, it's just, you could be passed by like 5 cars down the main straight, so you have to be leading to minimize that. It's just the best defensive position to be is in the lead here.
Yeah, and it looked like you had the pace to go there, but every time you in that second race you'd get a run, something would happen, and you just kept getting nerfed back a little bit here. But man, a fight back to the podium. Well done, bud.
Yeah, thank you. Looking back, I was just rewatching it. I had a little bit of a hip check off in lap 1. I was around the outside of Beans, but if I didn't have that, I probably would have been in the lead most of the race if that didn't happen. But, it's racing.
It is. And, the fact that you do this all pretty much without, a partner is doubly impressive. So well done, dude.
Thank you guys. I'm very excited to watch this one.
It's crazy fun.
Yeah.
Thanks, Nicholas. Moving on now to, let's see, we've got Camden Hibbett, who will join us now, who finished this race a bit further down the order than I think he would have liked to. Camden, tonight, race 1 went pretty well. Race 2, though, got shuffled off in the early moments. You've ended up in 8th, so a great fight back, but I know that's not where you really wanted to have been.
Yeah, no, it's just it's frustrating with all the people that come in for one race and just kind of drive like there's not much on the line, which I guess there's not for them, but my opinion, I think they need to respect the guys that are racing for the championship a little bit more than what we saw tonight. But yeah, it's just unfortunate that Rowan just kind of pushed in the chicane and just took me out. But it's racing, I guess. It's Watkins Glen. It's kind of the nature of this track, I think. It's so fast, so much draft. It's just kind of gonna happen. I think it was gonna happen to somebody. It just happened to be me.
Yeah, we're watching a replay of that, and he just got that curb and just slid over and tagged you there. I was going to ask, though, we saw so many massive saves. Cars would be completely out of shape and able to grab it back. We were speculating that was a reflection of the grip of this place. Other tracks, those would have been spins or wrecks. And here it just seems like there was enough bite that you were able to save a lot of those.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of grip here tonight. I don't know if it was track temp or just the track surface here at Watkins Glen, but there was definitely a lot of saves. I know I had a huge one in the bus stop right there in race 2, and I think it's definitely interesting. I don't know if it could have something to do with the new damage model also. I know we got the suspension changed a little bit with that new damage model, so it could have something to do with that. We just didn't see it last week at Road Atlanta. But definitely there were, like you said, there were a lot of saves tonight and a lot of cars sliding around, and the car definitely feels, I tend to like how the car's driving a little bit better. You can definitely slide it around a little bit more and kind of know in the back of your head that you will probably be able to save the car way more than before the update.
All right. Well, that's great to hear, and we love seeing a little motion out there and giving you guys that little bit of predictability. Great fight back in that second race. Points are going to be closer now, and it's going to be a real championship run to the end, man. You're up to it.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I know I think I was 33rd after the spin, and I don't even know where I finished. 8th maybe, 8th or 9th. So it was a good run back through the field and salvaged some points with Morgan. I think Morgan had a drive-through in the first race that he couldn't serve, so I think we stayed pretty even on points tonight and salvaged a rough week for both of us, I believe.
I think you did exactly that, man. Well done. That was one hell of a comeback drive, bud.
Thank you.
Camden Hibbett, 8th place in race number 2. Morgan Burkhardt, though, 19th in race 1 after a penalty late in the race that you couldn't serve. Race 2, though, you survived one of the most chaotic race starts I think I've ever seen in iRacing, period. You come out the other side leading, and you just never gave it up. Race 2 winner, Morgan, take us through your night.
Well, it was spectacular, to say the least. Race number 1 was one of the most aggressive, high-paced, high-energy races I've ever done, and I had a blast doing it, even though I ended up with a penalty. And it was last lap, had a net code contact with Camden, and I put me 1x over the limit, and I was just like, oh no. But I mean, up until that point, it was so much fun racing with everybody. Like it was a little bit beat and bang at times. It was hard, but for the majority of it, it was pretty clean, and it was I think this is the most fun FSS event that I've had, period. But in race 2, 19th start, I was like, I have no clue what's going to happen. And I just threaded the needle all the way down the middle of the front straight and ended up in 7th at the end of lap 1. And I was like, I think I might be able to make something out of this. And then just kind of kept chipping away. And eventually found myself with a push down the back straight by JC and ended up in the lead and saw the huge pile up behind me, which I think was just awkward placing a bunch of cars trying to occupy the same place on the road. But saw that happen, and it was just like a blessing. It's just such a weight lifting off my shoulders. I could just do my own thing, head down, do what I do best, which is just going out and hot lapping and keeping the tire under the car. So ended up with it in race number 2, which was a wild surprise.
Well, I'll tell you what, when you got the lead in race 2, turning into the bus stop, when you had that nose ahead, that decisive slash across everybody into there was so impressive. And you did it with enough margin that, you didn't, there was nobody that you were going to get tagged by or take out. You were going to take, it was just great. And then everything sort of happened behind you there. But at that point, one of the things, I've talked often about your smooth precision. And it really caught my eye here tonight, Morgan, in turn 9, where you used that inside curb and you were on that curb at the exact same point, lap after lap after lap. It was a joy to watch, man. It really was.
Well, I appreciate it, and it's fortuitous that the Full Send Sim series is going to Watkins Glen. I've been doing so much Watkins Glen practice ever since I got home from Mid-Ohio yesterday, just to practice for the upcoming 6-hour event that's there for IMSA in 2 weeks, and this is no better way to practice than such a high-energy, high-paced place. And I'm happy to see that I was pretty consistent in my corners, which is really nice to hear. So, yeah, I appreciate it.
You earned it, man. It was a great drive in race 2, and well done as always.
I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you. See you next week.
Thanks, Morgan. Well, Greg, fun night of racing tonight. It got really aggressive at the beginning of race 2. Look at this. This is up the hill at 100 miles an hour. Burkhardt, 2 tires in the grass. He survived it from 19th to 1st on the grid. He wins another one. But big shakeups all around in the championship standings here because of how dramatic it was this evening.
It really was, and I mean, it was super consistent for Nicholas Rice-Puto. We talked to him, and like I said, I think he had the speed to lead. He just could never get there in that second race, but salvaged 2 podiums, went for the 2 points leaders. And remember, Hibbett came in 5 points clear of Burkhardt. Both of them had a great race and a really bad race, and so I think these points are going to be a little bit more snug going into our next round, which, by the way, happens to be Daytona International Speedway, another drafting place extraordinaire. Very different than this track, but nonetheless exciting. So, we're in second half of the season, Kyle. That's championship time.
It is championship time. You mentioned Daytona upcoming. If the speeds weren't high enough for you there, it'll be even more next week. And then, of course, Homestead, Miami, where we ran race 2 of the season, or round 2 of the season, except for running the Road Course B configuration there. And then Road America and Sebring. So 4 extremely fast racetracks, not dissimilar from Watkins Glen and the speeds that we saw. So I think this tees up, a pretty exciting tail end of the season as the championship fights start to become clearer.
Oh, I think so. And I mean, what a group of tracks to wrap up a season and determine a champion. It's going to be awesome. By the way, this Thursday night, I want to remind everybody that there will be a group practice, 7 p.m. Eastern time at Daytona. If you want a little bit of extra track time there before we go racing there Tuesday night. With that, we're going to wrap things up. Got to say a huge thank you to Full Send Sims, Court Schmidt, and everything that they do. Remember, buy a Full Send Sim because practice makes podium. It's that simple. To Farah, our newest partner in the championship, the Formula 1 Auto Racing Association. Variety of types of cars, very low entry fee, and a very low fee for spectators. It's a great opportunity. And then, of course, we have to take a look at those who have been with us. Final Turn Motorsports, they just have done such a great job from the off. Full service prep shop, trackside support, extraordinaire. 3P Logistics, they do logistical support for you, your family, your race car. Well, they'll take care of everything if you want to go racing, from booking your flights and your cars, pretty complete. And of course, to Wine Country Motorsports, the largest combined inventory of premium race car gear brands in the country. Thanks to all of them. Thanks to Finian DeCuna for everything that he does behind the scenes with our cameras. And of course to you, Kyle. Absolutely a joy to announce races with you. I'm Greg Creamer. Thanks everybody. We'll see you next Tuesday night from Daytona.